This season of Beyond the Brand is brought to you by Leader. For more information, visit leader.co. They say the most powerful tool you possess is the one you were born with, your voice. But most people never learn how to use it to its full potential. Our next guest is on a mission to change that. Vic Speakman is the founder of SpeakOut Enterprises, where he coaches entrepreneurs, leaders, and teams to find their edge through fearless communication and bold leadership. He's an author, a mentor, and a strategist who believes that if you want to change your life, you have to start by speaking out. Please welcome Vic Speakman. And Vic, the name SpeakOut Enterprises, that carries an awful lot of weight. What was the moment in your own life when you realized that staying quiet wasn't an option?
Well, I will tell you, when I first started in the industry, my father, I grew up, he's a pastor, began a pastor of a church, and he developed the church. I used to watch him all the time and how he moved crowds well. Well, that was his voice and his opportunity as far as what he needed to do. I tried that in the pulpit area, and I failed miserably, because I had to find my own voice when it comes to speaking. But I was able to find it just by honing in the craft of learning the things that I needed to in order to lead generally in this area. So Speak Out was established many years ago, I think about 2005. And from there, we were going forward with teaching people how to own and hone their craft. Did it through things like learning how to find your purpose, your uniqueness, or your niche. Learning how to not have approval addiction when it comes to how we look at people and how we want applause to come from people as opposed to sticking to your guns. That's why we started a mental toughness drive. It means that I'm not looking for your applause. I'm looking to get you to gain knowledge so that you can advance. And I also teach leaders and speakers how to hone their craft and get in and do what they're supposed to do. That was the initiative for SpeakOut Enterprises.
And what are you doing today with that?
So today we've culminated gifts and abilities to find people's purpose. And you find the people's purpose through certain areas that we teach all the time. Teach classes throughout the week. I teach classes with teams, and there's also leadership qualities, understanding the 5 levels of leadership, taking those levels, and I learned that from a John Maxwell class, taking those levels and honing to the point where I'm not necessarily focused just on my position, but I'm focused on getting people to be more like I am when it comes to pushing others to success. And there's always time to make sure we look at people and make sure that their thought process is not about approval addiction. Because many speakers, they get disappointed if they're not having the applause. They get disappointed if they're not having a lot of desires from the outside influence. They get disappointed, but you have to be able to stick to your guns. I always teach people all the time, know the vignettes that you're talking about and have those prepared so that when you want to get out there, you understand. And there are sometimes you're not going to get the same response. That doesn't mean you stop. That means you hone it a little bit better. Maybe the next speech, even if you're using the same vignette, you want to make those things kind of work well for you to balance out so that the very next time, even if it's the same crowd or a different crowd, the response becomes greater. What I've learned from my speaking coach, his name is Steve Siebold. He's taught me well that you look at LPMs and EPMs, that's laughs per minute and excitements per minute. And you try to hone in on those when you're doing your vignettes. That way they know what's coming, or you know where the laugh is going to be when you actually do your speech.
You talk about speaking in vignettes. Break that down even further for us, if you will.
Okay, so a vignette is just a short story. A short story about something that you've had, you go through a life issue, or there are sometimes issues you go through And it generally ends up pointing you to certain areas. Like, for instance, if I went through an argument with a family member, I might say something about the argument, or better yet, I may not even go through an argument. But when I was at the airport flying out, I heard a husband and wife talking. I'll use that, write something down, and I'll make it look as if it's me in the picture. Those are just short stories you could use to make the point you're trying to make. So you grab vignettes, you use them all the time, you write them down, but they become short stories in your speech. And your speech is designed so that you can make a point. When you make the point, sometimes it doesn't resonate until you have the story behind that particular point. And so those are vignettes.
What has been the response thus far, you kind of going through what you've been through with other people and helping them to develop their authentic self?
So generally the response is always great. And what I love about this is that when you actually get a person to look inside themselves, when you get a person to examine right where they are. See, I've often learned, and the greatest book I know teaches you that if you don't know from whence you've come, you have no direction into where you're going. So the first thing I do is focus on from where you are and from where you've come. Then you start to learn the patterns you've developed. That is your personality, and you use that same personality to push forward into the success that you're going to have moving forward. I believe there's greatness in everybody because everyone has something to give. We just have to learn to hone that and move that forward in them.
Can anybody be a speaker?
Well, I can't say honestly that everyone can be a speaker. What I can say is that everyone has something inside of them to change another person. That is the drive in yourself to be able to do it. Now, you could possibly do this with classes. For instance, if you're going to be a coach, you may never get up on a platform and speak anywhere, but you can coach people side by side. You can do one-on-ones, and you can do things like team coaching where you can get people to develop their uniqueness or develop their leadership. Sometimes you're teaching people how to speak. Now, I need you to get this. In mental toughness, always understand speaking and keynote speaking especially, this is not talent, it's a skill. And so you have to learn how to do this. Those things are developed in you, and those things make you the person that you are. And that's the level of expertise that I, Vic Speakman, and SpeakOut Enterprises generally teach.
It seems like you kind of had a head start from most of us. I mean, with your father being a pastor and all.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
It is very much so, because when I was growing up, my pop, he always put you up front to try to just get you to do something. So I was never afraid of the public eye, never afraid to be able to stand up. Even when I messed up, I was still able to get there. Now there's something also too. What has helped me is my mother moved me from just being a regular person into singing well. She taught me from a young age how to sing. So a lot of times, especially in the church setting, when I was nervous about speaking, I'd start a song. Once I get the song moving and it's going well, then the speaking becomes a little bit better. So I did have a little cheat with what I would call growing up. Cheated a little bit because I had parents that were there. Mom was an excellent singer. She did operatic style, and she also does soulful style. She grew up with a family of singers, so it helped me out. And she taught us young. I had two brothers and a sister, and all of us would harmonize while we were cleaning the house. You know what we're talking about. When we were growing up, there was always Saturdays where we cleaned, and we had those times where we would come in and we would sing while we're cleaning. That developed the singer in me, but my father was pushing the speaker. He wanted the pastor, and I'm like, well, I don't know about that, Dad. But I end up being not just a speaker on corporate settings, but also a pastor following him after his untimely passing.
Vic, I know there are folks out there wanting to know more information about where they can find you, and maybe you can help them. How do they do that?
So they can go into vicspeakman.com, just VIC, and my last name, SpeakMan.com. There you can find what I teach, when I teach, if there's going to be classes you want to be involved in. There's also going to be times for us to just come in and share. You can say, I would love for you to come and be a keynote for us when it comes to mental toughness. I teach on mental toughness, learning from my speaking coach, again, Steve Siebold. Mental toughness is always the way to go, because you've got to sharpen your mind mentally to begin to think and focus on the things that you need to do going forward. Once you sharpen your mind to the point where this is going to be the thought, and I've understood, you go an inch wide but a mile deep. Become an expert in your area, and you become mentally tough in that area. No one else would know more than you when it comes to your area. Mine is mental toughness, learning from my coach, but then yours could be something different. It may be leadership. It may be cooking. It may be learning how to clean. It might be designing things. Whatever your niche is, we can find it and push you into excellence with that.
Vic, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Be sure to scan the QR code on your screen to sign up for BizTV's monthly newsletter, The Biz Beat, where you'll get articles, business news, and columns by BizTV's personalities, all sent directly to your inbox.